Sydney's best breakfast.
2GB.
Bill Shorten. What is Bill Shorten up to? The Minister for the NDIS has taken off to Switzerland. He's there for the Ukraine Peace Summit. An important issue, but what about his job here at home? The NDIS is an absolute mess. People are treating the scheme like an ATM. They're spending money on drugs and holidays and cars. We know that 9 out of 10 plan managers have witnessed signs of fraud. Taxpayers are forking out almost $50 billion annually for the NDIS. That's more than the entire cost of Medicare. So shouldn't Bill Shorten be at home trying to clean up this mess that he's failed to fix over the last 2 years? That's the point made by the Liberal Senator for New South Wales, Dave Sharma, who joins us on the line right now. Dave Sharma, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben. Good to join you.
Who would have thought of this? Whose idea is this?
Oh, it's completely bizarre, Ben. I mean, Bill Shorten's got his hands full at home with an NDIS scheme that's failing on many fronts and costing us a fortune, and he's got nothing to do whatsoever with Australian assistance to Ukraine. I mean, the people who are at this conference are going to be scratching their heads wondering, how does the Minister for the National Disability Insurance Scheme bring anything to the table to support Ukraine in its fight for survival? It's just completely bizarre.
I would have thought the Prime Minister would be there, or the Foreign Minister Penny Wong, or the Defence Minister Richard Marles. I just can't quite work out how this fits in Bill's portfolio.
It doesn't at all. I mean, yes, exactly. You'd want someone who's at least on the National Security Committee of Cabinet, ideally the Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, or the Defence Minister. Bear in mind, most other governments are sending, their leader or their deputy leader. The US Vice President is going, the French President is going, the German Chancellor is going, and yet here we are sending someone with a portfolio of no relevance whatsoever to Ukraine.
There have been reports that the Prime Minister wants Bill Shorten to take up a post overseas at some stage, so maybe this is getting him ready for something like that.
You think this is a dry run for a diplomatic assignment?
Well, I don't know. It might be a little bit of a work experience mission.
Well, I think Ukraine deserves better than that from us. Ben, I mean, they're in a fight for their survival right now. The least we can do is take their existential struggle seriously by sending a minister with the capability to take decisions on behalf of the Australian government and represent us properly, and Bill Shorten is not that minister.
Yeah, and we don't doubt for a moment the importance of what's happening in Ukraine, but you would think at the moment with this scheme out of control, costing more than Medicare, and fraud left, right and centre, that the Prime Minister would be saying to Bill Shorten, listen, Bill, you've got one job and one job only to fix this scheme that you were supposed to fix 2 years ago.
Exactly right. And remember, Bill Shorten was the architect of this scheme in the earlier Labor government, the Gillard-Rudd government. So this is his creation. He's been the minister for 2 years now. The scheme continues to grow at 20% per year in costs. It's eclipsed Medicare. It's soon to eclipse the total size of our defence expenditure. And if we don't get control of it, it's going to eat the entire Australian budget. I mean, we're going to need to either cut services elsewhere or dramatically raise taxes. So this needs to be Bill Shorten's number one sole priority. And instead, he's spending the weekend in Switzerland. We're
chatting to Dave Sharma, the Liberal Senator for New South Wales. Dave, what about Kim Williams, the new chair of the ABC, who has been lecturing ABC journalists about not expressing personal opinions, and at the same time, he's now been caught on a recording ripping into the coalition over their nuclear power policy?
Look, I just think it's the height of hypocrisy, and it's just incredibly inappropriate. I mean, just last week in the Senate, we had David Anderson, the CEO of the ABC, or managing director, having to apologise for what Laura Tingle had said at a Sydney Writers' Festival. And then a mere fortnight later, Kim Williams, the chair of the ABC, goes and wades into politics in a completely inappropriate way for a publicly funded national broadcaster that is meant to be impartial. And where Kim Williams has told the journalists himself he expects them to be impartial and to hold their political views to themselves. And he's just gone and violated that fundamental rule.
What about the excuse? He says, no, he wasn't speaking as the ABC chairman. He was speaking as an Australian citizen.
Well, I don't think that washes at all. I mean, you could say that about anyone. Anyone can come out and say anything and say, I'm not the CEO of BHP today. I'm just an Australian citizen. I'm not the Premier of Western Australia. I'm just an Australian citizen. I mean, when you hold a public office like this, and it's a public office, it's a well-paid public office, in charge of our national broadcaster, this is an important role. If you want to go off and turn up at writers' festivals and utter your own political opinions, well, resign your position from a publicly funded board before you go and do it, because you do not get the luxury of saying one time I'm speaking as a citizen, the other time I'm speaking as the chair of the ABC.
At the very least, he should apologise today for the double standards, shouldn't he?
Absolutely he should, because all the staff at the ABC and the journalists are going to say, well, is it do as I say or do as I do? I've seen Kim Williams go out there and turn up at a writers' festival and slam into one side of politics, so obviously we have free rein to do it otherwise. He's sending entirely mixed messages. I think he should, at the very least, apologise. And if he can't find it in himself to do that, he needs to reconsider his position.
We appreciate you jumping on the line, Dave. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Ben.
Dave Sharma, the Liberal Senator, joining us on 2GB Breakfast.
Traffic needs some